Welcome everyone to the final episode of the Promised Neverland podcast, where we'll be talking about the series as a whole. As always, I am joined by the wonderfully musically talented C Tactics. Say hello, C.
Hi everybody, I'm gonna play guitar being Thunderstruck.
And not just C, but we are also joined by two very special guests. First of all, AnimeUpRise, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm UpRise. How's it going?
Yep, UpRise helped out if you filled in for C a few weeks ago. And then we are also joined tonight by Kagami360, who always leaves wonderful comments.
The most amazing man in the entire world, only second to Phil.
Yes, Phil. We will definitely be talking about Phil tonight. By the way, this is a season overview podcast. There will be spoilers for the entire first season, and I should really mute my phone, so give me 1 second. But there will not be manga spoilers.
There's another requirement for watching, and it's subbing to PewDiePie.
Yes, sub to PewDiePie. Yes. A link to PewDiePie is in the description, along with guests and whatever else they told me to link for them.
Do your part.
Yes. So our first topic tonight is just what were your overall first impressions with Promised Neverland, either how you got into the anime, manga, or however you got into the series.
Well, I just want to first off say Satsuki the Savage saying just dropping the body say C Tactics is a lolicon and Isabella is my wife. First of all, wrong. Isabella is my wife. Second of all, I'm not a lolicon, okay? You just go ahead and get out of here, Satsuki. Just go, just get out, just go. Also, subscribe to Satsuki the Savage.
Yes, also subscribe to Crimson Assassin, who's in the chat. Crimson is awesome, so I do podcasts with him sometimes too. I should do more of this.
Indeed.
So,
everybody.
Yes. So going down the people on the Discord chat, Steve, do you want to just give which were your first thoughts as you saw the first episode or read the first chapter?
Before this, I reviewed this show for the King of Anime podcast, which is a weekly podcast on my channel, no big. And my expectations. Well, first of all, I didn't pick this show. Satsuki the Savage. This was his lock for King of Anime podcast, and all he told us is that it's going to be a pretty awesome show. And so those were my expectations. Is pretty freaking high because Satsuki liked it. So. I went in and I liked it pretty much immediately. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. The twist, I don't want to say it surprised me, but the first episode, it made me go, wow, I guess. But I definitely wouldn't say it was I was, on the floor, I was like, cool twist, right? And from there, I was pretty much hooked, to see where this series is going to go forward. And yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like that. I was not blown away by the first episode. I knew there'd be some twist, but I was like, okay, you have my interest. Let's keep going. And yeah. Next on my list is Kagami. What were your thoughts? Because I think you read the manga before the anime.
Yeah, I did read the manga, and I liked it at first, and it just kept getting better and better, and it's the kind of show that builds up upon itself.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. It's every episode seemed to add more to what we had, and I really like that. And yeah, UpRise, any thoughts on the first whatever you saw? I forget which one it was for you.
It was the manga, and actually at first I liked it, but around volume 2 I dropped it.
Okay, so that means we unsubscribe from UpRise now. Just kidding.
So that is an interesting thing you bring up, how you dropped it, because one of the good friends of, I assume, this podcast, but of my channel, co-host of the ReZero podcast, Garfield, follow him at DreamOnEmo. He said that he kind of fell off of it a little bit too after the first volume or so. So that's interesting you say that. It's not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, I'm surprised because it seems like most people in general seem to prefer manga to anime if they've seen the manga first or read manga. I've also talked a little bit to Satsuki about this, and he's kind of vented about it in the King of Anime podcast chat, that a lot of actually the manga fans, the hardcore manga fans, really don't like the anime because they changed some stuff. But this is what I've heard, is they've changed stuff that just makes sense to change, that doesn't actually modify the plot or anything like that. It just makes it better for an anime-only viewing. So it seems there's a certain sect of the fan base that may be a little bit whiny. And I think just what I've seen, it feels like a lot of it was like compressing the story because they adapted like 37 chapters into a 13-episode season. I think those numbers are right. Oh, also, hi to Astro. And I think a lot of what they cut for like the internal dialogue of the characters, while it would have been interesting to see, I feel like taking it out sped up the pacing of the anime, which is part of the reason it's so good.
Yeah.
And so I guess to answer my question beyond what I've already said, like from the first episode, like I was interested in seeing more. I wasn't really hooked completely, but then it was like after episode 2, I was thinking, okay, this is really good. After episode 3, I ended up just making a first impressions video that night because like, okay, I really like this. I need to do more. And then I started talking about C and felt like it could be a good show to cover weekly. And I think I like it more with every episode I see.
Every episode you see tactics, or like...
Oh my god, damn it.
I am proud of your puns.
I'm grateful I'm on this podcast. It's very fun to do.
Indeed.
Yes, this is the best podcast I've done all year.
We need to rename this podcast to the Phil Podcast.
Phil.
Yeah, well, the Discord chat is the amazing podcast Phil's Domination. So, yeah. So, that brings me to my second question, though. What were your thoughts on Phil when he was introduced?
I thought that boy, that's a really cute little boy, but I don't know. There's something about something about him. Or I
thought he was gonna be literal god by the end of the series.
There's something about him that made me think that kid's important in some way, and I'm just gonna make it into just a funny meme for this podcast because I just have a feeling. I don't know what. There's something about him, the aura around Big Daddy Phil.
The aura.
Yeah.
Yes, the aura. By the way, go check out Aura description.
There's just something about him where I was like, yeah, he's gonna be involved in this story some way. I just had a hunch.
And I love how like it was a joke that ended up becoming real. That was just amazing. But yeah, when we were first watching, it was like he kept showing up, and it's like he was getting much more focused than any of the other background characters, which told me that he's not a background character.
He's the character.
Exactly. He's going to be the main character of season 2.
Not Emma, not Ray.
Yeah, this is just like a prologue. This is like how Naruto is to Naruto Shippuden, or Fate Zero to Fate Khalid.
Fate.
Wait, what's that last one?
How they didn't make the demons.
I know what I said.
CG.
I have no clue what just happened.
Things are said.
A lot of people on the podcast. We'll talk over each other. It's natural.
Yeah, I apologize if viewers can't make it out.
So repeat what you said.
I like how the demons aren't CG.
I appreciate that as well.
Yes.
It's like watching a horror film, right? Where you watch the horror film and it's all CG blood. There's no props or anything like that. But, and seeing it like, it's the same. Seeing it hand animated is the same way as seeing it as like actual real props. There's just something about it. It feels very tangible.
Yeah, especially with everything else being 2D, at least for the most part. I did not notice that, but now that you mention it, I'm glad that they did that this way.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, and AnimeUpRise, what were your thoughts on Phil like when you first encountered? Do you think he would be important or just a background character?
I didn't think much of Phil.
Phil would be God, and he is God. And my theory was right.
Exactly. If you come up with enough crazy theories, you're bound to be right eventually.
Eventually.
The only true not normal day will be a day where where everything's normal.
Exactly. And Promised Neverland is too good of a storyteller to not take advantage of things like that.
Did you just say the Promised Neverland is a storyteller? I'm sorry, but it's a story.
The storytelling in Promised Neverland. And welcome back, Satsuki. See, you don't need to understand what I'm saying to know what I'm saying. I feel like that should be a subtitle in Fate. So I guess beyond Phil, who we all know is the greatest character ever, what were your biggest surprises throughout the show or manga or whatever?
For me, I wasn't the biggest surprise, but it was like Sister Crone dying the way she did. I never thought for a second that Sister Crone would be annihilated like that. I thought for sure that she would be alive for most of it. I never thought until the episode happened, you know, like, oh, she would be found out and she would be dispatched, so to speak.
Yeah. I could have seen her dying as like she was dying to help the kids escape in the end, but for her to die like halfway through the season.
That was
the biggest
surprising.
surprise for me happened in the manga.
Is it something that we've seen yet?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so skipping past that one for now.
Yeah. No manga spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, please not.
I mean, the only one that's allowed is that Phil's going to become God.
Well, yeah, we know that one for sure.
It's so obvious it's not even a spoiler.
Yes. Poor Astro, he should probably not be watching the podcast because he Phil is yet.
Ooh.
I think another surprising moment for me, though, was the backstory for Isabella. Where I was like, because I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it, like, what changed her? What made her be this way that she is? Like, she was a little girl at one point, too, you know? Innocent and stuff like that. And we got it. And I was like, wow, that's like some really powerful stuff.
I don't think I was surprised as much, but that was good. For me, the biggest surprise was when Isabella broke Emma's leg.
Oh my god, that was crazy.
Yeah, just like it doesn't make sense. Okay, Isabella overpowered. And then just breaking her leg, like that's like, you don't do that. What kind of crazy person are you?
Yeah, that was
in terms
crazy.
of like stuff that the anime adapted. The Emma's leg breaking is a surprise. That is something that surprised me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like hearing her scream and how like stopped all their plans because she couldn't do much and everything from there.
I was kind of surprised with when Ray was announced to be Isabella's son.
Yeah, Crimson has actually just said that in the chat.
Oh, really? Well, I wasn't.
And Sasuke apparently wants Isabella to break his leg because there are problems with him.
Everyone has their dreams.
Yes, we all have dreams, some that make more sense than others.
Some want to have some huge Ghiblies crush them.
Yes, and Uprise, what was... You just said that Ray being Bella's son was your biggest surprise.
Yeah, it was just... I never really expected that of all things. Like, I never thought one of the children in the farm would be one of her sons. I never really thought she got pregnant before.
Yeah,
I didn't even know how it worked.
Yeah, we still don't know completely like how it works. It's like the people they recruit to be mothers are biological mothers, but there's like a lot beyond that. And like, how do they have enough mothers to produce all these children? So there has to be like mothers who have lots of kids or something else going on.
Yeah.
Or another crazy idea I just thought of is maybe they like make clones of the kids and send one clone off to each farm.
Clones? Maybe.
I said before, if I come up with enough crazy ideas, someone's bound to be right. This one probably not.
I gotta say, that 11th episode was pretty lit.
Oh, yes.
Really?
Didn't you say in the chat, like, or for one of the podcasts, like the opening meant something? And then, like, seeing them set the whole place on fire?
So up to your fire.
I noticed how, like, the thing I remember most about the opening was when they said fire a few times.
Uh-huh.
And coincidentally, that's what happened to the house. Went on.
Yeah. I really like the opening, how it like foreshadows so much. If you look at the images and lyrics and all that, how like every episode we understand more about what the opening is actually saying. And yeah, I think that's like the biggest surprise. And are there any others that you guys want to talk about?
Any other surprises?
The fact they didn't show enough Phil in this season.
No, it's like Phil is like a fine wine. You want to take it slowly as opposed to drinking 5 bottles at once.
Definitely.
That's in that comic.
I can appreciate how little they use Phil. So I'm surprised that they were smart enough to use him so little.
Exactly.
The anime studios overdo the fan service.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like it was just enough fan service for fans like us, while not being too weird.
Not being too weird.
Yes, and yes, apparently Isabella letting her hair down did not happen in the manga. See, there's more further proof that this anime is better than the manga.
Definitely, I agree with that.
Indeed.
I actually like the anime.
Yeah, so, Kagami, since you both read it.
Johnny is here, finally.
Oh, hey, Johnny. Good to see you, and sorry that we're going to spoil The Promised Neverland that I don't know if you've actually read. Or watched, or whatever.
Don't worry, he came here knowing that, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah, so... Okay, another question for you. Who would win in a fight? Isabella or Reagan from Mob Psycho?
Reagan, obviously.
Obviously Reagan, man.
Okay, yeah.
That's
Reagan is like the greatest Esper in all of Mob Psycho.
Salt Splash will end her.
Now
I want to see them animate that fight.
I think it's a testament to some of the character development that you would actually pit against an Esper against a mother. like that's how terrifying Isabella is.
Isabella would win? Get out of this podcast stream.
Isabella. Oh my god.
Well, it's like, would Isabella fall for all the crazy stuff Reagan did? That's the question.
Yes,
well,
Reagan is
falls
God.
For it.
His true Esper abilities is to fool everyone he comes across.
Yeah. Alright, I thought some Mob Psycho, but we should probably not spoil that anime as well. Okay, Astro doesn't know who either of them are, so Astro, go watch Mob Psycho and Promised Neverland by tomorrow, please. Thank you.
Also, read Aura.
Yes, read Aura. Yes, do those things too.
Links are in the description.
Yes, including PewDiePie, because I could not let you guys down.
You have to do our part.
Yes. So I had another question I was going to ask, but I forgot what that was, and I did not write it down. So, yeah.
Let's talk about how Emma's hair makes no sense.
Emma's hair?
Oh, yes, like how Emma's hair would just like stick up and stuff like that, or just the random colors.
Like the that one strand of hair. I think there was like a joke comic, one-page comic of it. At some point I read where like Isabella was cutting Emma's hair, and she tried cutting that thing part of it, but that string just like dodged the haircut, and it went back into its original position, and Isabella was just staring at it.
That's great.
This proves anime hair has its own mind of its own.
I've noticed that a lot of like anime or Japanese games like have a character hair randomly sticking up like.
It's anime. You can't question it.
Out of all the things I could question for anime, this is probably not the one.
Yeah, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh is the one either.
Oh my god.
And yeah, the question that I was going to ask is like the foreshadowing throughout the anime. That's just something like going back to it. I keep seeing these things that looking back, I'm like, that makes sense now. That makes sense. That still might not. But were there any things that stood out to you regarding the foreshadowing for the show?
Foreshadowing. I didn't really pay attention. I just kind of watched it.
Okay. Well, one for me is that I ended up watching the first episode twice. I watched the first episode when it came out, and then when I was going to get caught up when I think episode 3 is out, I rewatched it. And one of the things is like Emma was chasing one of the kids saying, "I'm going to eat you." And now that we know that they are food for the demons, I was like, oh, this means a lot more than it looks like. Or I think Isabella was praying like, "Thank you for the food." And she was not talking about the food the characters were eating.
Damn.
So yeah, I just appreciate that. There are a lot of other things too. That was also in the manga because I picked up the first volume and I was going to read that today, but then this podcast started earlier than I planned, so I didn't. So
that's your fault.
Yes, it's all your guys' fault I couldn't read the manga.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first volume's good. But the second volume,
All right, so my next video will be why the second volume of Promised Neverland is terrible.
Yes. I'll like it.
Okay, 1 like, 922 dislikes.
That one like's all you need, man.
As long as I have someone I know I'm not alone or something.
Don't worry, 922 dislikes means that you have 922 people watching you.
923. That's the like.
Yeah. Okay. And something else I've been wondering that I can't figure out if I'm overthinking it too much, but if the characters' numbers actually mean something more than just being random numbers.
I think it's a classification in some ways, where
it's like a name.
You know they're cattle from the number on their neck. Also, it's probably to have it written down somewhere, and it is in many ways their name.
Right, yeah.
ReZero's better.
I would actually disagree with that, and I love ReZero.
I love ReZero. I'm actually watching it again right now.
Nice. Yeah, you should check out, if you're interested in the web podcast and Garfield have done on it. It's an amazing podcast, even though I turn it off every time they get into the details. And Astro... And in the chat, Astro is confused, but I think that's normal.
Happens to everyone that watches Rising Sun.
Exactly.
Gets confused.
The only times my videos aren't confusing is when they're supposed to be confusing. And something else that I think when we were talking about the podcast, C or I guessed that he was going to set the place on fire, and then when they did, it's like, okay, we were right about this one crazy idea thing.
I set the place on fire?
Yeah, when they like we guessed in an episode or two before that they would.
Yeah, I think we did.
I forget what all was said about things.
I
know why Astro's lost. It's because he doesn't know who Phil is.
Oh, yeah. If you don't know Phil, you don't know anything.
Yes. I tried to get Astro to watch Promised Neverland last night, but he went to watch Panty and Stocking with instead. I mean, the good show, but not quite what I was expecting him to go do.
If you're not gonna watch The Promised Neverland, at least sub to PewDiePie.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's done that either. But yes, everyone sub to PewDiePie. You can unsubscribe from everyone else.
What? Wait. Don't do that.
If you're sub to PewDiePie, you should have already committed suicide a long time ago and also unsubbed from him right before.
Okay, don't take Cosby's advice. Yes, because I have 5 accounts.
You used all those 5 accounts to subscribe to PewDiePie.
Yes.
You should all have at least 10 accounts sub to PewDiePie.
Yes, but then have the 9 accounts to sub to C-Tactic. So, something else that I was noticing throughout watching is some of the visual and soundtrack they did, enhance the suspense or horror or tension or whatever you want to call it. Were there any of those that stood out to you guys from that?
I like how they kept the second ending theme and didn't just make it for 1 episode.
Oh, that they had it for 3 or 4 episodes?
I like the long tracking shot in one of the episodes where they track Norman while he's walking down the hallway.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
It's just one take.
That was cool.
It feels like it's just one take.
Peace, Norman.
It's very smooth.
However, they serve their meat in the demon's place.
I liked a lot of the stuff that they did with with Isabella. I thought they made her, just from the way they kind of animated her face, it seemed very motherly, but also at the same time it feels like she could turn on a dime and just and just really, be really evil, to put it bluntly.
My kawaii children.
Yeah, it's like she was like shown to be like visually like she does care about the best, but there's much more to her than that. I mean, she like broke Emma's leg, threatened to kill her, all that. And that
she
was
cares
like
about the kids, but she cares about herself.
Breaks Emma's leg. Oh, you must be hurt, little one.
Yeah.
I made me mad when that happened.
And like I loved like how Isabel was being all like motherly to her after she did that, and like how that was like such the contrast. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying.
I like the first person shot. I think it was episode 2 or 3, where I think it shows Norman walking up the stairs in first person view. I thought that was pretty interesting.
And they had a lot of things, I think, in episode 3 or 4 where they're like panning away to like show, I think, Sister Crone watching the kids. But like it was from her perspective, so you did not know that it was her watching.
Oh yeah, I knew there was someone watching, but we never knew who, and that was good.
Yeah.
By the way, this is still a mystery in the manga. Who is Grandma?
Grandma is, we see her in, I think, the last episode. It was Isabella's mother. Well, her mother, like the person,
Wait.
Like person in charge of her farm, or
person in charge of the farm.
Yeah.
Okay. She got to the point, I assume, where she got a
Astro,
high enough rank.
You're not
she
woke
became a
enough
grandmother.
to know who Isabella is. Damn, you've reached a new level of low.
First, you don't know Phil, now you don't know who Isabella is. Wow.
Astro's seen like 2 episodes.
Podcast right now, Astro. You should have watched The Promised Neverland last night.
I think he was enjoying Pandy and Stock. I kind of want to rewatch that now.
Damn, Astro, wasting your life on that. Shame on you.
Watch good anime like Fate Khalid.
Sorry, continue.
Watch good anime like Arrow Manga Sensei and Boku no
I agree.
Pico.
Get this podcast is going places. And yeah, for the one of the animation scenes that stood out to me the most was episode where they're like showing 2 scenes at the same time, is the kids going through the library and then Donna and Gilda going through the secret room, and showing how they're going like back and forth between them, but it was done in ways like it felt like it was one big scene. I think that was episode 6, maybe.
I'm not sure what episode that is.
In terms of animation, my favorite is episode 12.
Yeah, I like episode 12's animation too.
Yeah, that especially like in the end they got to the sunrise, and that was really cool, and is now my profile picture if you didn't notice.
Oh yeah, actually I did notice until now.
I noticed that your profile picture changed yesterday or something.
Yeah.
I was like, something's wrong with you.
There are many things wrong with me, but we're not talking about those tonight.
Yeah, let's not talk about how you haven't subbed to PewDiePie yet.
What?
How would you do that? It's not like you're stalking me or anything, or maybe you. So that's okay. And so I guess. So I guess, are there any other parts of the series were your favorite of the season, or like really stand out?
How they killed the children, or what that flower thing is.
Flower thing.
You guys have any theories?
Not really. It looks like it like takes the energy from their brain somehow. Is kind of my guess, but that's about all I know.
A needle thing, they like produces like a drug that kills him or something.
And they killed Crone with it too.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe that killed her.
Yeah, because like the demon wasn't just like overpowering her, even though she was, but the flower seemed to deliver the final blow. And when we saw Connie's body, it looked like she had been she was violently killed, but there wasn't a lot of like blood around her. So I wonder if like the flower like sucked the life out.
Just like sucks blood.
In season 2, we're gonna get an answer to what those flowers are.
Ooh, 2020, I think it comes out.
Yes, I think it's been confirmed. At least Mal says it's confirmed, though I don't know if it's.
It better be.
No, actually, there was a video trailer that said it too, so I'm pretty sure it is.
Good. I need more.
Yes. If they left this on a season 1, I would be very mad at them. I would have got to set Japan on fire.
It's like
fire.
And
this is why I'm not going to be down or be allowed to go to Japan because they are afraid I'd set the country on fire.
Don't set Japan on fire, man.
You can't go to Japan. You're a rising sun. You'll make everything burn.
Yeah, but it's only fitting that I go to the land of the rising sun.
You fool! You killed us all!
I guess I should pay attention to the, what is this chart?
Hey, look! 88 Expert is woke!
I think he is awake now. And wait, okay, who is actually doing that? I feel like I would know them because they're saying this should be the Twin Tales podcast, which I do need to do. And yes, there is a season 2 ReZero announced, which I am very happy about. So I
haven't watched ReZero. Don't at me.
All right, everyone, go to Kagami's Twitter. It's in the description. Watch ReZero.
Wow. Okay. You know, you gotta watch it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, it has Rem, who is best girl. Don't tell Garfield I said that.
I like.
Don't worry. Mob Psycho 100 season 1 is surpassed by season 2.
Yeah, season. Maybe I should do a podcast on Mob Psycho.
yeah. Rename the podcast right now. Then let's change the discussion to Mob Psycho and make the rest of the images for the stream where it says Mob likes milk.
Mob likes milk.
That was a. So back to the actual topic. See, were there any season?
Say that again.
Were there any favorite scenes from you for this season?
Any scene with Phil.
I really enjoyed the flashback sequence with Isabella. I appreciated that a lot. Sister Crone's death once again. All the scenes that try to do something different production wise, like the first person view, the tracking shot with Norman.
Oh yes, that.
The scene where they dupe Isabella, that's a pretty nice one as well. And I think that's probably my favorite. When
Emma
scenes.
literally got her leg broken from Isabella.
Oh.
Yes, I like seeing how Isabella broke it. Not figurative as I say that. Though I do agree with seeing the escape when they finally float Isabella. I think that might be my favorite in the whole anime because I rewatched that a couple times just because I wanted to see it again.
My favorite moment in the series is when Norman got shipped off. Even though I'm in denial about it, I don't want him to be dead.
I'm 92% sure
he'll never see him again.
No.
As a manga reader who is caught up, I can confirm this.
No.
The question is, do I believe Kagami?
Literally 100 chapters ahead of you.
Oh no.
But then the surprise be Norma comes back in the chapter right after what Kagami just read.
Oh.
Don't worry, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 there's a character named Yugo.
Yugo.
That doesn't surprise me. So I guess we've gone a little bit over half an hour. So I guess my final question would be, for people who like Promised Neverland like us, what similar anime would you recommend while we wait for season 2?
Similar? The Phil Show.
The Phil Show. Oh yeah, Dr. Phil. Yeah, that's best anime.
Are there any other anime with a character named Phil in it?
Dr. Phil.
Yeah. Dr. Phil, man. Send him to the ranch.
Okay. Apparently that guy whose name I can't pronounce is a lurker. But anyway, nice to meet you, great lurker person who's commenting.
I should open the live stream.
Oh, Seraph of the End.
There's a character in Yu-Gi-Oh! Named Fusion.
I actually forgot to make Crimson Mod a while back. That's interesting.
It's Yugo, not Yugo.
Yeah, so Seraph of the End, actually, there are a lot of similarities. If I do a review of Promised Neverland, I'm going to bring up Seraph of the End a little bit in it, too.
Seraph of the End, that's old. I haven't watched that in a long time.
Yeah, that was like 2015, I think.
Also, that old, never mind.
Yeah, like
Hello, I'm Yugo, from the Synchro Dimension, not the Fusion Dimension.
I don't want to try and make sense of Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, C or other people.
I wonder if you get why I said the name Yugo.
Yugo.
All right, I guess we're going now. So
it's time to end the stream off with what we should say for the viewers and how they should what they should do after the stream.
Yeah, well, again,
subbing to PewDiePie, watching the Promised Neverland actually instead of watching the podcast first.
Yes, that would make more sense.
Going to every single link in the description and subbing and following everyone on it.
That is, I agree with that statement.
I guess any final thoughts for Promised Neverland?
It was good.
Don't forget, Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 has the best ending according to the Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTuber Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything. Good channel name, if that actually exists.
C, any final thoughts on Promised Neverland?
Really enjoyed it. Big surprise of the season for sure.
Yeah, I'm not surprised I liked it. I'm surprised I liked it.
I'm surprised I liked the anime.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they announced season 2 so early. Usually they go 4 years without a season 2. Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah, Attack on Titan was the other one. I heard this a lot. Just what I want. Though I talked this episode.
Freaking Assassins, Domestic Girlfriend, loved it. Oof.
I want to watch. I've actually started watching Domestic Girlfriend with one of my friends, but he's never available, so I've only seen the first episode.
That show is hard to watch.
I think I'll enjoy it with a friend, especially that friend. He's weird.
Any girl with red eyes is automatically best girl.
Goldie Pond is gonna be amazing if the next season is 24 episodes.
I hope it is. I hope they do what they do with My Hero Academia episode every year.
Well, that'd be great if it was every year.
Yeah, I feel like it's popular enough and the manga's far enough ahead to do that.
Because I think the manga is going to end within the next a year or two.
Oh, okay. So that'd be 200 chapters. So that'd be 60 episodes total. So they could do 3 seasons, maybe 4.
No, it's going to be more than 60 episodes.
Well, I'm just thinking if they did it at the pace of this one.
More 70 or 80. Somewhere in those numbers.
Maybe even 100.
Maybe it'll overtake One Piece.
Now I got some serious doubt.
Yeah, I definitely want more though. And I'm glad we're getting it before too long. I don't know what my plans would be next year, but I'd like to do another Promised Neverland podcast series since it's a lot of fun. And yeah, for other suggestions, I think Crimson is recommending Slime Daddy. Also,
Slime
Daddy.
I stole Slime Daddy's name from C, so he can thank me for that one.
Anyways, time to plug in our channels and stuff.
Yeah. So I guess UpRise, tell people where they can find you.
They can find me, link in the description, AnimeUpRise. You need to remember, right? AnimeUpRise, like Anime Uproar. Almost like the same.
Some people do get you mixed up more than they probably should.
I wish our sub counts got mixed up.
One day they will. One day. C, do you want to tell people where they can find you, what they can click on links for?
You find me, everything is in the description. Bento is the current backup channel, but I still plan to do videos on C Tactics whenever that is permitted to upload again and those strikes are all cleared up.
So go check that out. There's also a link to C's Discord in the server, which is where I'm also. If you want to join Discord and say hi, do that because I decided not to have my own server.
Oof.
Yeah, I had it, but it's never used. I feel why bother? I'll just hang out in C's and all the other friends I have. Yeah, so you can find me. So you already have found me, so I guess there's not really much more you can find me at. Links in the description for Twitter. Actually, follow me on Twitter because I'll be announcing stuff there soon. And lastly, the greatest meme of all time, Kaga Meme. Tell people where they can find you and what you do.
Why, yes, of course. You can go into the description and find me on Twitter, and you can also find my comic Aura, which contains some of the best quality writing you'll ever see, with some of the best art to back it up. You will see characters such as Muscly Mustache Guy, who was in the story for 3 panels, but did so much more to the story afterwards. You will see Kaze in his quest to lose every single fight in the entire series. You will see Shite without a backstory or any character development be so impactful to the viewer. And last of all, you can go to find my YouTube channel in the comments or chat thing just by clicking my channel name.
Oh, yeah. I always forget you can do that. And if you want to hear my thoughts on Aura, I'm going to be releasing a review of it on April Day because it is going to be that amazing. But as a special gift to people watching, I just linked the unlisted version of it into the chat, so go check that out.
Go check it out, indeed. It will be worth your while.
I do not promise that anything I say is true, accurate, correct, or what I really believe.
Now, there is only one true way to end the stream, and that is with a JoJo reference.
JoJo.
Aura. All right, see, I think that's our cue to end the stream now.